I'm somewhere between that bottom 10th and 7th. But, honestly, it does not really matter what that number is. I don't even know what it is yet. In March 2026, Sam Sulek made his IFBB Pro debut at the Arnold Classic and placed 8th in Classic Physique. The prep footage he posted in the months before that show spread across the internet under the label disturbing. Here is what that footage showed, and here is what the defeat at the Arnold actually was. Sam Sulek is a 24-year-old from Ohio who competed in collegiate diving before switching to bodybuilding. He has over 4 million subscribers between YouTube and TikTok. In 2025, he won the Arnold Amateur Classic Physique competition, earning his IFBB Pro card. His first pro show was the 2026 Arnold Classic, held March 5th to 8th in Columbus, Ohio, the city where he trains, lives, and films his content. The Classic Physique lineup had 10 competitors from the Netherlands, Brazil, Italy, Spain, Mexico, Australia, and Iran. Sulek was the only American in the division. Wesley Vissers of the Netherlands, a former Arnold Classic title holder, entered as a favorite alongside Brazil's Matthias Menegatti. The rest of the field carried combined decades of pro stage time. Sulek had 0. Yeah, it definitely felt like I showed up to a pretty heavy competitive lobby. I mean, these guys are pretty much freaks. The prejudging came before the finals. Crowd noise was present and loud as Sulek went through his posing routine. The audience had followed him through months of prep footage and was there for the result. The Classic Physique callouts at the Arnold are among the most scrutinized in the sport. Judges have a precise picture of the division standard, and they had placed Vissers at the top of it before. The tension in the hall was earned by the lineup on stage. The scorecard reflects the judges' decisions from prejudging and finals combined, assigning points by placement where a lower number means a better result. Wesley Vissers took first with 5 points. The list continued. Eek 10, Andrea Momoili 17, Joachim's Angel 18, Jorge Herrera 25, Ethan Gohari 30, Vahid Bodpay 35, and Sam Sulek 40. 8th place out of 10. So, I'm somewhere between that bottom 10th and 7th. But honestly, it does not really matter what that number is. I don't even know what it is yet. He said that backstage after the show, before seeing the results. Victor Martinez reviewed Sulek's performance for Generation Iron and identified 2 issues: posing and presentation. His routines ran at roughly half the length of his competitors, and his transitions between poses lacked fluidity. In the callouts, Sulek's V-taper and leg development did not land the way they needed to. Martinez noted his stage turn as the best in the division, but was clear that condition alone does not move a scorecard. During the finals, Arnold Schwarzenegger stood up from his seat and took a selfie with Sulek on stage. It was a public acknowledgement from the man whose name is on the event. It did not change the 8th place result. The competition was over, the result was on record, and it landed on top of months of footage that the internet had already decided was something to worry about. To understand why Sulek arrived at that stage in that condition, we need to go back to January 2026. The footage that went viral 6 months before Columbus was filmed inside his car. The car vlog format is where a significant portion of his content lives, functioning as unfiltered interior access that production-heavy fitness content cannot replicate. His audience grew on that intimacy. But the January 2026 series, the 60 Days Out Prep Vlogs, carried something earlier content had not. Sulek had been sitting above 260 pounds during his off-season. By January, he was down to approximately 229, eating around 2,500 calories per day, training to failure session after session, and documenting all of it. The caloric deficit had been running week after week with no external authority checking the numbers. The visual evidence was writing itself into every frame. Vascularity that had read like a roadmap was now beginning to flatten, and the fullness that defines a developed physique at rest was quietly disappearing. Then there was the breathing. Since 2023, Sulek's breathing under load has been a flashpoint. A clip from that year accumulated over 18 million views, becoming one of the most referenced pieces of footage in the fitness corner of the internet, cited repeatedly in discussions about the physical toll of extreme training. The 2026 prep footage revived that conversation with fresh material. The same labored cadence under load, the same flat delivery to camera, but this time embedded in a prep sequence that was visibly dismantling the body it had spent a year building up. And this is where the really depleted flat. Like, I'm as flat as I can be because I've been on my deficit consistently the last weekish. The flatness he describes, a state where glycogen stores are so stripped back that muscles lose. Volume is a standard waypoint in competition prep. Every competitive bodybuilder passes through it. Very few document it this closely with an audience this size watching. The reaction machine processed the footage at speed. YouTube titles accumulated, clicks followed, and comment sections filled in the rest. The concern that gained the most grip was about his heart. Sulek has discussed performance-enhancing drug use openly, describing steroids in the same matter-of-fact register he brings to everything else. Reaction channels took the combination of visible physical strain, labored breathing, disclosed PDD use, and a month-long extreme deficit and assembled a single narrative. This is what a body looks like when it is being run past the edge of what it can sustain. Then, 12 days out from the Arnold, Ohio show, he posted the clip that gave the disturbing label its most concrete anchor. Like, everything that's going into my mouth is going to be weighed, measured, tracked. I was about to say documented, not really documented, but I'm just tracking the carbs, fats, and proteins of everything. Navigating this without a coach or nutritionist, without a second set of eyes on the trajectory, made the footage feel like something beyond standard prep documentation. Audiences were watching a young man manage one of the most physiologically demanding processes in sport entirely alone in real time. The unease was not irrational, the evidence was in every frame. Because if I wasn't super strict and super specific about counting everything and weighing everything, well, then this whole week I might think that I'm dieting, might think I'm getting a little bit leaner. The day before the Arnold, he posted the final prep vlog, the depletion phase. The final severance of every carbohydrate reserve before the refeeding cycle was finished. Wednesday was his total depletion day, and Thursday was for refueling the gas tank. The glycogen was going back in. I feel like I'm a mile away from the gas station and the engine started sputtering. The engine sputtered on the way to the gas station. That is the image he chose the day before his pro debut, and it crystallized everything his critics had already decided about where this prep was heading. The footage told one story. The internet told a louder one on top of it, and that second story had been burning for weeks before the Arnold results even posted. Before Sulek set foot on stage, the internet had already decided he was at war with it. Videos began circulating with titles like "Pro Bodybuilders Confront Sam Sulek for Disrespecting Arnold." These were not fringe uploads. They gathered views and moved through the bodybuilding corner of YouTube, X, Reddit, and Instagram, with the velocity of content that speaks directly to an existing tension. Comment sections treated the confrontations as established fact without pausing to ask whether any of it had taken place. None of it had. The source material traces back to a 2024 Arnold Expo. Schwarzenegger had tagged Sulek in a post, and Sulek had not reposted it. Layered on top of that were complaints about meet and greet fees and accusations of entitlement. These grievances were real in the sense that real people expressed them. They were not real in the sense of a ban or a formal statement. The content machine stripped the ambiguity out and repackaged the result as conflict, landing with precision on the fault line between old school, dues-paying culture and the social media first generation Sulek embodies. The titles wrote themselves because the cultural wound was already open. What actually happened in Columbus was a different story. Sulek received a crowd reception that Victor Martinez later described as the best in the division that weekend. During the finals, the man around whom the entire disrespect narrative had been constructed initiated a public selfie inside the arena. Generation Iron's coverage documented that backstage conversations about whether social media stars needed to learn the game were real. The manufactured feuds were not. The actual complaint is not that he disrespected Arnold, it's that he arrived. He arrived with 4 million subscribers, self-coached, having won his pro card legitimately but having built a platform that made the win a national conversation before anyone in the room had seen him compete. That is the structural collision, and it will shadow him until he starts winning, at which point the narrative will recalibrate as it always does. The actual story was simpler. A 24-year-old walked into one of the most competitive classic physique lineups assembled in 2026, placed 8th, and walked out with a list of corrections. To understand how he processes that list, we need to hear it from him directly. Every critique converged on one pressure point, the posing. Victor Martinez's breakdown made the technical case. The routines were short. The transitions were rigid. His V-taper and leg development were not presented in angles that would extract maximum impact from the judges' sightlines. These are not physique problems. They are posing problems, the most correctable category of issue in competitive bodybuilding, because posing responds directly to focused coaching. The obvious fix was to hire a posing coach. Sulek does not have one, nor does he have a prep coach. He is his own sole operator, and he's been consistent about why. That's just kind of how I am anyway. As much as we can have a bunch of guys around us hyping us up to work out and stick to our diet, the real battle is when it's just you. You just woke up, it's 2 in the morning, you're going to go to your kitchen. Do I want to have cheese toast right now? The 2 a.m. kitchen test is where Sulek locates the heart of competitive prep. The accountability that matters most is the kind no one else can provide. His answer to that question night after night is where the self-coaching model is validated. This is also where the prep footage takes on a different meaning. The flatness, the gram-by-gram tracking, the sputtering engine, these are the direct output of a process running on internal discipline alone, with nothing to cushion the visible cost. The critique has a legitimate edge. At this level, professional coaching can be the difference between 8th and the podium. Sulek has not hit the ceiling of his model definitively, but the posing critique suggests a coaching gap, not a physique gap. What he has in place of a coaching infrastructure, however, is a feedback mechanism that has never existed at this scale. I think I'm a little bit spoiled in kind of a good and a bad way, because I get the most feedback on social media about bodybuilding compared to everybody else. 4 million followers. many of whom watch with a focused eye, produce a volume of posing analysis no single coach could replicate. The quarter-turn photos from Ohio cycled through that audience and came back with a consensus. The initial stance was losing points. That information landed on his phone in real time. You know, I've seen all the photos of that initial quarter turn. When you get that on your phone 24/7, it's pretty easy to make an adjustment. The willingness to absorb criticism and convert it into adjustment without deflection is the behavioral architecture of a competitor who intends to improve. As for the pressure of being the most scrutinized bodybuilder in the sport heading into his debut season, it's definitely more fun than pressure. I'm kind of used to having a lot of eyes on me, getting a lot of criticism. It kind of just comes with the territory. The absence of visible pressure under scrutiny that would destabilize most 24-year-olds is not a performance. The prep footage is too unguarded for the composure to be a sustained act. The indifference to the placement number backstage was the same energy as the two-line AM kitchen conversation. Matter of fact about something the rest of the internet had decided was a catastrophe. 3 weeks after Columbus, Sulek went to Birmingham with the feedback absorbed and the adjustment loaded. The scorecard would tell the story of what that adjustment produced and what it suggested about the direction he is moving. The 2026 Arnold Classic UK ran March 27th to 29th in Birmingham, England. 3 weeks separated it from Columbus. The Ohio scorecard was on the books, and Sulek had used all 3 weeks to digest it. What changed in Birmingham was visible immediately. The flattened glycogen-stripped look from Columbus, the visible cost of a prep cycle pushed past the fullness threshold, was absent. The package he brought to the UK carried muscle volume that filled the classic physique frame the way the division scoring structure rewards. Oh yeah. Looking back, I was definitely happier finishing, knowing I was a lot fuller. It's not all about size, especially for Classic. Open is where bigger is totally better. But for Classic, you still want to come on stage and fill your frame, so I definitely did that this show a lot better. That distinction, size versus fullness, is the technical dividing line separating competitors who understand the division from those still learning it. Classic physique operates under height and weight caps. The mandate is to present the maximum visual expression of the physique. The Ohio prep had come in below the fullness threshold. Birmingham corrected the equation. Wesley Vissers placed second. Sulek came in 7th with a score of 34, 1 place higher than Columbus, 6 points tighter. Obviously, for the Columbus show, I was way bigger after a year off season. And then I was bigger in the UK show compared to Columbus, so it's like just an upward trajectory. That's all I can ask for. 2 shows, 2 data points, both moving the same way. The framing strips the emotional charge out of both results and treats them for what they are. Measurements in a sequence, not verdicts on a career. This is what the defeat framing consistently misses. Sulek never treated 8th place as a defeat. He treated it as the first data point in a series that is not concluded. Victor Martinez's assessment landed on a single conclusion. The physique belongs at the top level, and with better posing and an improved conditioning strategy, Sulek can win major shows. This is a projection grounded in evidence delivered by a veteran analyst who knows the difference between a competitor with a ceiling problem and one with a correction problem. The structural questions heading into the off-season remain. Does he bring a posing coach into the next prep cycle, or does the crowdsourced feedback loop continue to close the gap? Sulek has indicated he is heading into a full off-season bulk, letting his body recover and expand before the next competitive cycle opens. The disturbing footage from January will keep moving through the internet. The health debates are structural features of the space he operates inside, but stripped of the manufactured confrontations and reaction channel crisis narratives. The story of Sam Sulek's 2026 Arnold Classic debut is a straightforward one. He showed up. He placed 8th. He went to Birmingham and placed 7th. He absorbed the feedback, made the adjustment, moved the number, and is going into an off-season. The trajectory is pointed up. If you enjoyed this video, click on any of the cards on your screen.